And then there were three. Indianapolis gets the green light to go for Super Bowl 52 and bring the big game right back here to the Circle City. Our competition, the Big Easy of New Orleans, and the bid featuring a whole new stadium in Minneapolis. So how do we stack up this time around? We're sitting down with a member of the Super Bowl bid committee. Then the Affordable Care Act moves forward. But Indiana Attorney General Greg Zeller and more than a dozen schools want to put the brakes on part of it. He's joining us in studio. And our political insiders weigh in on the lasting effects this shutdown is going to have on the politics of our nation. It's all coming up on this edition of Indianapolis This Week.
From RTV6, Indianapolis This Week.
Indianapolis is in the hunt. Round one was getting a chance to bid on Super Bowl 52 in 2018. Now the organizing committee must come up with a presentation that will wow the NFL. Indianapolis did it back in 2012, hosting the big game to the obvious national and international crowd. But it was the city's Super Bowl Village concept and the zip line that drew praise from the people who really matter, the National Football League. Mayor Greg Ballard is hopeful this time around, considering that the Circle City is moving ahead in the process, while bigger cities like Dallas, Miami, and Tampa did not make the cut. Joining us now is Kathy Lanham. She's president of Lanham Logistics. She's the 2018 Super Bowl Bid Committee Vice Chair. Ms. Lanham, thank you for joining us. Can we compete against New Orleans, who is celebrating its 300th anniversary, and Minneapolis, which is building a new glorious stadium?
Yeah. Well, absolutely we can compete. Is it going to be competitive? Yes. Is it going to be difficult? Yes. Did we do a ton of things right in 2012? Absolutely. Everything from the stadium to the village to the zip lines to the legacy project to the volunteers to raising the money in advance. I mean, we did so many things well that we really feel like we can compete on this one, and it's not going to be easy.
Then we had a new stadium, we had a new hotel, the JW.
Yes.
Are we going to have to put in some new infrastructure as part of this bid, or do we have the right stuff now to move forward in 2018?
We think we can leverage a lot of what we have today. So we've made lots of investments for 2012, and we think those will reap rewards during this Super Bowl round too. You know, we don't know what other investments we'll have to make at this point, but we feel like we can leverage most everything of what we have.
Do you have to ask someone for money? I mean, as you talk about infrastructure, to build something or to add something, is that something that you already have on hand? Or are you now going to the corporate community and saying, hey, we are now part of this bid process, we need your assistance?
And that's what we're springing into action to do right now. Starting this week, that we know we've made the finals, and one of the things that really helped us last time was we raised $25 million to go to the NFL during the oral presentation and give them pledges for that amount of money. It worked really well. We think it was a huge competitive advantage, and we're going back. You know, we talked to a lot of the donors at the end of the Super Bowl last time, and they said, come back. And when we announced that we were going for 2018, several of them have already contacted us and said they were interested, and we should keep in touch with them. We also have a list of prospects that didn't donate last time, but our corporate community is amazing.
How tough will it be? You guys did such a great job in 2012.
Yeah.
I think you really wowed the NFL. And I'm going to say that as a reporter covering the event, I don't think they expected us to do so well. So how will you beat that? Because now we are the benchmark. The zip line, the Super Bowl Village, those are the many concepts that now that the other cities are now using.
Yeah.
How do you beat that?
Well, I think we leverage it.
You leverage it.
You know, we take advantage of all the great press and everything we did last time, and then we raise the bar on it. You know, we've got a lot of great thinkers in this community and in Central Indiana.
Are they working now? So this week, because we're going to hear in May whether or not we get the game. So what's happening now behind the scenes? Are people like in little rooms with Post-it notes and drawing things? I mean, what is happening right now?
Well, there is a bid committee, which is a leadership committee that's involved kind of on a higher level, and then there is a bid team, and Susan Boffman, who is Senior Vice President of Indiana Sports Corp, is leading that team, and they're working through all parts of the bid right now, putting things together.
What are they working on? Because we already know we can bus people in, we have the hotels. Are they working on the ideas? Are they working on what this thing will look like and how it will flow? I mean, is that what they're working on?
Yeah, all of that. You know, what will the legacy program look like? You know, certainly the hotels have to be strong partners with us. We have to reserve lots of rooms and lots of dates and put all that together. The Super Bowl bid to the NFL is a big document,
sure,
several binders this big, and so there's a lot of details to be worked through, and they are working hard at it right now.
How do you make sure, because it is so competitive, that whatever you come up with does not get out to Minneapolis or New Orleans? I mean, do you sign some sort of an agreement of some kind, or is it understood that whatever the committee is now working on from this moment through May cannot be talked about?
Right, it cannot be talked about. It's confidential.
Do you sign something that says that?
I haven't signed. No, we don't sign anything that says that, but we just have my firstborn son will have to go to the organizing committee if I talk about anything, so I can't.
Yeah.
But we're all working hard. It's not going to get out. Certainly, many bid processes are confidential. A Super Bowl bid process is 10 times more confidential. So you won't hear a ton about the details until after May, when the oral presentation happens.
Some folks thought we had a complex because we were Indianapolis, that you know, we were not as good as the bigger cities. But in this round, it seems that we did beat some big cities: Dallas, Miami, which has all the beaches, right, and the bars and the palm trees. What does that then say about us? I mean, was this? Is the NFL just throwing us a bone, or are we really a competitor in this bid process?
Well, we, the bid committee, feel like this is a strong affirmation that the NFL is delighted with the job we did in 2012. I mean, the city, the state, the volunteers, the corporate community pulling together. This is just an indication that not only were they delighted with what we did in 2012, but they're confident we can do it again.
32 NFL teams. Jim Irsay has just one vote.
Did a great job.
Right, but how critical will he be in selling this 2018 package?
Yeah, well, I think we owe Jim a debt of gratitude already for getting us into the final three, and he will be certainly a big part of moving forward and winning the package. You know, what it looks like is the written document goes in April, and then in May there's an oral presentation, and at least for 2012 what it looked like were 4 people were allowed in the room, 2 could speak from each city and make a presentation, and then they leave and the owners discuss and vote, and then they award the host city.
Anytime you want to invite us in with you as part of the committee, you just let me know.
Okay.
I mean, I'll just stand around with a little hidden camera or something, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
I don't think that's going to happen, is it, Kathy? Thank you for joining us. We'll be watching the process. So let's take a look at the timeline of where we go from here. The city will submit its formal bid in April, then make a presentation to the owners meeting in May. Right after those presentations, the owners will make their choice, and then it's 3.5 years to get ready for Super Bowl 52 in February of 2018. If we're picked as the host, and if we're picked as the host, I'm sure we'll have great weather. Kathy will want great weather. The battle over health care, a new legal challenge to a portion of the Affordable Care Act, and why several Indiana school districts are now involved. The state's attorney general joins us next. The Affordable Health Care Act sign-ups are now underway. The controversial law was one of the factors that fueled the recent government shutdown. Now the Indiana Attorney General wants a federal court to block the Internal Revenue Service for implementing the employer mandate. That's the part of the law that requires employers to provide insurance or face some steep fines. Joining us now is Greg Zeller, the Attorney General of Indiana. He was first elected to office back in 2008, and he won re-election for his second term in 2012. Mr. Attorney General, thank you for joining us. Why now, and why this?
Well, Raphael, the real key here is we need guidance from the court to explain what the statute means and how it affects state government as an employer. You know, we're really not used to being taxed by the IRS. So why now is we need to make sure before we get fined, whether it's one of the schools, whether it's a county or a city, or even the state, if we get fined, I would have to defend. This way we can bring an action beforehand, ask for a declaratory judgment so the judge will explain to everyone what this statute means and how it applies specifically to state government.
Some folks are confused because they heard that the president delayed the employer mandate for years. So why not wait till 2015 to take the action, or are you taking it now to be proactive?
We are. I think we have this year that hopefully will go through at least the first level of the district court, the federal courts here in Indianapolis, so we can get some kind of ruling as to how this applies to us. Because, again, remember, we're not used to being subject to the IRS in a taxing penalty.
15 school districts from around the area have signed on to this. Why school districts?
Well, frankly, I think the state could probably come into compliance. We're already going through the process of lowering the number of hours that a part-time employee can work below 30. So people are losing money that would otherwise come to them. But these schools, some of them may not be able to comply. They're the ones who would be subject to a potential tax penalty, and it's for every employee they have. These are really draconian tax penalties. And again, we're not used to having the IRS tax a state government entity.
Your office was one of the multiple states around the country that challenged the Affordable Care Act in front of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said the law is legal. Are you refighting the law?
No. Originally, the statute said that it was an exercise of our Commerce Clause authority. That's the way Congress wrote it. If you remember, Chief Justice Roberts said it's not a Commerce Clause authority, it's a taxing authority. So now the logical question after the IRS promulgated rules is the state government subject to the taxing authority of the federal government? We have this thing called intergovernmental tax immunity. The state doesn't tax the federal government, and they've not taxed us. This would really be a new relationship between the state and federal government.
Some on the other side, the Democratic side, will say, look, you're a Republican, you're just attacking the law because it's the Democrat who happens to be the president. Is this political for you?
Not at all. I mean, I have to advise my clients what the statute means. Frankly, I don't know what it means, so going to court and asking a judge to interpret it, that's the way our process works. Now, it is true when you go to court, it's adversarial. So we're going to be arguing, they're going to be arguing. It looks like we're still, let's say, disagreeing over what things mean, but frankly, that's how we get a court to determine what the statutes mean and how they apply to state government.
You've often talked about making sure you watch the purse strings of the folks you serve. Are you going to be spending a lot of money on this? How will you pay for this lawsuit?
No, this is the kind of work we do in the Office of the Attorney General. And again, it would probably be more expensive if we waited and got fined where we had to defend. This way, we get it out in front. We take our time. We have a full year before the mandate takes effect. So we use our own attorneys. We did bring in one specialist that's working for the next 10 months to help us get through it. But again, these are just resources we already have in the Office of the Attorney General.
And have you heard from other attorneys general? Because in the past you have worked with other states. Have other states said to you, we want to join in on this fight?
We're not really looking for help on this. This is how it affects Indiana specifically. So if you read our complaint, we are very, very specific about this is how it would affect Indiana as a state government. Each of these 15 school corporations show specifically how it would affect them. So I think we're really looking to have that addressed. Now, if other states want to join by the time we get to the Court of Appeals in some type of an amicus to support our view of it, we'd be glad to have their help.
Do you think other districts will join you? Because currently it's 15, and many of them are in smaller communities. There were not many in the larger urban centers like Fort Wayne or IPS or Evansville. Are you expecting the larger cities to also join in on this issue?
Well, we don't actually represent the school corporations specifically. They have private attorney, a law firm that's handling that. I think in our discussions with the law firm, we would welcome additional ones if they have good, let's say, facts that we can present before a court to show how this impacts the way we do business as a state.
You've often described this issue as the federal government overreaching, an issue, if you call it sovereignty, as I've often heard you say. Do you believe that the federal government is overreaching on this issue?
I do. You know, the entire process, when it was going to be part of a Commerce Clause authority, I recognize they do have the authority under that Commerce Clause because we work with the employees that are part of the stream of commerce. But when Chief Justice Roberts said this was a taxing authority, that raised all sorts of new questions. Anybody in the legislature should really be worried about the IRS now having the ability to tax our state government.
It's a case that we'll continue to follow. Mr. Attorney General, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Please come back again. A new low for Congress, and our political insiders weigh in on the inaction on Capitol Hill and which poll to believe when it comes to same-sex marriage. Indianapolis This Week continues right after this. Joining us now are two of our political insiders, Lara Beck, Democrat, and Abdul Hakim Shabazz with IndyPolitics.org. So much inaction in Washington. What will be the legacy of all this talk? Or non-talk, really?
Well, I think one of the things we're seeing out of Washington right now is that the Tea Party and the after effects of the Tea Party is really killing the Republican Party right now. Business Republicans, for example, many of whom have funded their campaigns over the years, are saying, wait a minute, we need to slow down here. We need to take control of our party again. And one of the things that you're also seeing with it is that some of these business Republicans from associations and from Wall Street are even having conversations about potentially primarying some of these folks. So if their interests aren't being met in Washington and they're not seeing any action and even having a seat at the table with some of these folks, I think we're going to see some serious splits, and I think we're seeing the beginning of it.
I'm surprised you'd actually agree with Laura for most of that.
Wait a minute, but Democrats are often pointing to the Tea Party. Is the Tea Party really to blame? Is that 30 to 40 members in the House really the folks to blame?
That 30 to 40 is actually really more like about 80, because you have a lot of folks who are worried about coming from districts that are drawn so Republican. It's like some that are drawn so Democrat that the only way to win is to win in a primary. They're worried about getting folks stirred up and riled up. And then you have folks that just won't come out and say, do like a Peter King and say, you know, what needs to be said. The other problem with this is that hopefully this will teach people that if you're going to try to bluff the president, be ready when the president calls your bluff. One of the biggest criticisms is these folks have never had a plan B. What happens if the government is actually shut down? This is kind of where we are.
It's what we're seeing is the tyranny of the minority. And what is happening is that the process is really being held hostage. And I know that's been a common talking point that you've seen in some of the national publications.
And is that true, what she's saying, the tyranny of minority? Are you going to let her get away with that, or is it true?
No, because it's true. Basically, as I was doing some reading this past week, what the Tea Party Republicans are in 2013 are basically what the Watergate Democrats were back in the early 1970s.
And the religious right, though. Don't forget the religious right.
And then the far extreme left. So,
of course, we have, oh, yeah, I agree.
A different topic, the Attorney General just left us a few moments ago, and he is challenging a portion of the Affordable Care Act. He wants to block the IRS from imposing fines under the employer mandate. Is he trying to relive his court battle that he joined in with other attorneys general, or does he have a point?
I think it's really easy to say on the surface that this is the Attorney General trying to grandstand, but as an attorney who studied constitutional law and has actually read the briefs, Greg Zeller actually really does have a valid point. The federal government has never used its taxing authority since the founding of our republic to tax states and to tax local governments. And since the Supreme Court said the federal government gets its authority under the taxing clause of the Constitution, that's why this is a taxing issue.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm certainly not a constitutional scholar. I'm fairly certain
you're passionate about this issue, so let's hear it.
Well, there is such a concerted effort in Indiana, and I'm not saying it's by the Attorney General. I think it comes from a little higher up, from Governor Pence, is to make Indiana an island of the uninsured. Consider this in Kentucky.
Do you believe that, though?
I do believe it.
So you believe that
because we're not expanding Medicaid. Okay, we are opting out of the exchanges. Compare this with Kentucky. Kentucky they have their own exchange. They have expanded Medicare. They have already signed up 10,000 people to go on to get health care.
And we should point out that Kentucky has 2 U.S. senators that are Republican.
Absolutely.
One is Rand Paul.
And a governor, and a Democrat governor. But let me just say one thing real quickly. There is half of the state, southern part of the state, is in that Kentucky media market. So you want to tell me that they're hearing about every single stop to block Obamacare in Indiana when people just across the river from them are getting health care. And there are people in southern Indiana who don't have health care. So I think this is going to hurt them.
Well, but here's something to keep in mind. We say this Kentucky Health Exchange is so great. One of those insurance companies that you can get through the Kentucky Exchange, it only works in Kentucky. So if you get hurt across the river in New Albany or in Indiana, your insurance doesn't count. So before we get all excited about these health exchanges, well, first of all, I'm surprised they can actually get off.
I have a minute left. A new poll came out, or a new study came out from the Indiana Family Institute saying that there is a desire for a change to the state's constitution to ban same-sex marriage. We've seen other numbers, another poll from the Freedom of Indiana saying no, Who do we believe?
I believe the
30
person.
seconds.
I believe the person who releases their crosstabs. I asked the Indiana Family Institute folks for theirs, and so when I see their crosstabs, which is the details of their polls, then I'll give it just a little bit more credibility.
Yeah, I agree with him. I think that I trust the Indiana Family Institute's poll about as much as I trust your red Sharpie right there. I just don't think, I think if you're going to put out a poll like that, Abdul's right, you got to release the crosstabs, you got to show the questions, you got to show how you got your methodology.
Are we going to see a fight in the legislature in January on this issue?
Probably.
I think so. More of a fight now than I thought we would a year ago.
We'll see it.
Thank you very much. The conversation continues between our political insiders on the IndyChannel.com, also on Twitter. You are watching Indianapolis This Week. Thanks for watching. You can watch a rebroadcast of this program tonight at 5 on HTSN, or you can find us on our website, theindychannel.com. Go to the video section. I'm Rafael Sanchez. Have a great day, and thank you for watching Indianapolis This Week.